So, Mr. Gheorghiu, here we play with
Diez Del Corral.
Diez Del Corral. He's a player
Yes,
from which
he was a
country?
very strong Spanish
Spanish.
grandmaster, together with Pomar, the wonder boy from Spain. Pomar was the wonder boy because he was very small and he played very well, together with Reshevsky.
Yes, the two.
Two of them, Reshevsky for United States and Pomar for Spain. And as I told you, together with Spain, he was, the best Spanish grandmaster, and he was a very strong one. He understood chess very well, and we can see in our game that his resistance was very strong, and it was very difficult to beat. I mean, very difficult to win against the Corral.
So he was strong on theory or
He was
like
very strong in theory, and he understood chess very well. I mean, he understood the ideas and the threat and so on. You'll see.
Alright.
And therefore, the game was complete. I mean, you have to play very well in the opening, very well in middle game, and finally very well to try to demonstrate something in the final phase. I mean, in end game you have to be better and try to win. Okay, so now after c5, d5, and e5, now we don't have a Zemish because it's impossible to. I mean, it's not good to play Zemish against this line because because it's not the same. Black has already a very good position in. I mean, the central pawns are there. He controls a little bit the central pawns, and now, for instance, after knight c3, d6, yeah. If you play e4, and now after g6, yeah.
Yes.
After f3, first of all, after f3, he can play immediately if he wants.
Yes.
He can play here immediately h5. And after bishop e3, bishop h6, equal game. If he can, trade the black bishop, as I could do it against Reshevsky, if you remember, black has already a good game, no problem. Later on, the king goes to g7, and black controls all the squares, and you don't have anything with white, The game is more or less even, but black has no problems in just a few moves. So, you have to choose another line, not the Zemish. Bishop e2, bishop g7, and now bishop g5. This is the so-called Averbach variation for white, which gives always something, very little, but white has a small edge.
The edge is with the white player.
He controls a little. I mean, he has a better position in the opening, but it's very little, very little, but very small advantage.
But better something than nothing, right?
Well, but you have to play very carefully. Already here, after a6, I play knight f3, bishop g4 castle, and he took in f3. This is one of the lines, because, for instance, if we played immediately knight b d7, after knight d2, and bishop takes e2, queen takes e2, black has some small problems, Why? Because the bishop from g5 is better than the bishop from g7. The bishop from g7 is a little bit passive, Later on, you have some small problems, always. So now he took in f3, now I took, he played castle, and now a3. Already here, if you play a4, the advantage is very, very little, or maybe already nothing for white. a3 is very good because you prepare the push b4, and that gives something for white. You can open the line later on. If you have the pawn in a4, it's not the same position, and you have some other problems. I mean, you play b4 later on, but black has time to put a piece on c5, and that is good enough to have an even game. If he arrives with a piece in c5, it's okay for black, So the game now is different, of course. A little bit better, as usual, for white. So now everybody will maneuver with white and with black, trying to get something for a few moves. Queen c7, bishop e2, to put the position there, And white is trying, I mean, it seems that white does something on the other side, but the reality is that he's preparing, as usual, his game on the queen side with the move b4 later on. He's preparing the move b4 later on. So, okay, knight g8, he tries to get rid of this bishop from g5, you see. Even if he gives a pawn, we'll see. Later on, he tries to give a pawn to trade the bishop from g5. So, of course, rook e8.
But why to get rid of the bishop?
Because the bishop from g5 is very good, It's better than the black bishop from g7. You'll see during the game why. We have the explanation there. f3, rook b8, rook b1. Okay, I told you, everybody tries to move here and there, preparing later on the move b4 with a small initiative for white. Rook c8, rook c1, okay. Bishop f6, okay. Now if you take in f6, you have nothing with white. Or if you allow him to take in g5 and trade bishops, it's not good. So you have to move back to e3. So now the bishop from e3, supports the initiative from white on the queen side. Therefore, the bishop is very important. So queen d8 again. Now he wants to give you a pawn. You see, now you move the rook from c1 to c2. No?
Yes.
Because the idea from black was to give a pawn with the move h6, preparing the move bishop g5. If you take the bishop takes h6, you win a pawn, but later on the bishop from f6 becomes very active on the black diagonal, and black is okay, if you take the pawn from h6. And he plays h6, of course.
Okay, so if you take it with the bishop.
Yeah, he plays h6, but you don't accept, you don't take the pawn. That is the idea. Now, you avoid, all this.
You want to get run away with the bishop also, not to...
Yes, you keep the bishop. The bishop is very important, you see. So bishop g5, the idea from black is very clear. Therefore, I told you that he was a very strong grandmaster who understood chess very well. The idea was very nice, you see. He gives a pawn for initiative. He wanted to have counterplay at any cost,
Yeah.
So now you move the bishop to g1. It was even better probably to play immediately bishop f2, but bishop g1 is okay. You avoid the bishop, okay, h5, okay. So first phase of our game is finished. White is a little bit better, and we prepare our game on the other side, on the queen side, but not immediately, a little bit later on, So knight f6, okay, bishop there, h4, and now we play g4. Now black has to take in g3, to take decision. If he doesn't take on g3, we play simply later on king g2 and h3 maybe. Everything is fixed there, and we play on the other side, So he took on g3. Now the h file is open, but it's nothing. Nothing happens, on the h file. King g2, everything is under control, and now we prepare the same idea to give a pawn for very big initiative in c6. We give a pawn in c6, but we have complete control on the other side, and later on we put a piece on d5, and therefore white is better.
So you mean like exchange the queens here?
Yeah, now first of all we want to take a pawn in a6. If it's possible, we want to take. So he moves, and we take the in c. Okay, and now after knight takes c5, we give a pawn. But okay, he doesn't want to take the pawn, but he understood why, We take back the pawn from the b6, and we have complete control, So now he tries to demonstrate that on the black squares, black has enough counterplay.
But now
he gave a pawn. No,
he gave you a pawn.
He gave a pawn, but having such a strong knight in c5, it's very difficult to break this resistance,
So you invited each other to take an extra pawn?
To take a pawn, for initiative. We give the pawn for...
You refused, he refused, but now you took one.
Okay, now we took the pawn. Okay, after knight d7, queen a5, queen f8, and knight d1. Okay. And here, he understands that he is nothing to do on the other side, because queen alone can do anything. Now he accepts to trade rooks, but if we take both rooks in b8, maybe he has a small hope to have control on the b line.
Yes, with the queen.
So, okay, we took in b8, he took in b8 and took back, and queen takes and queen b4. We don't give the b file, you see. Now, if he takes in b4, he's lost already for black. He has a pawn down, and we push later on, finally, the pawn, and we have, better game and winning.